And so let's look at the guidelines then from that perspective. In this talk, we're emphasizing the method. And so you could easily get stuck on, well, I've got to do the method just right. But it's always a relationship. And that means, unlike certain other disciplines, if you don't do it correctly, it doesn't matter. It's a help if you do it correctly. But it doesn't matter because it's your intention that counts, and the relationship is with God. And God sees that you're trying hard to do a nice job, the best you can, however much you're stumbling. He's not going to hold your mistakes against you. He's looking at your love, and through another person or a book or eventually or through the inspirations of the Holy Spirit, you'll correct whatever mistakes you're doing. The main thing to do is to do it. The principal method of centering prayer really is to sit down. Now that isn't too hard for most people. Once you sit down, then the Spirit has sort of got you, especially if you're determined to sit there for the 20-25 minutes that you have agreed upon. And if you do that every day, then your mistakes or misconceptions will gradually evaporate. Doing it is the primarily discipline. But there's ways of doing it that could facilitate this sitting there. And so let's look at the guidelines. Now, the first guideline is choose a sacred word as the symbol of your intention to consent to God's presence and action within you. Notice, please, God's presence and action. So we're working with a dynamic relationship, a back and forth, an exchange, a conversation which has moved towards communion or is moving in that direction. The second little guideline is that sitting comfortably and with eyes closed, we settle briefly, like I'm settling in this nice chair, breathing easily and so on. And then after a few moments of not doing anything, just sort of settling, pausing, maybe 10 or 15 seconds of quiet, you introduce very gently, very casually, almost informally, the sacred word that you had chosen in the first guideline, that symbolizes the consent of your will to God's presence and action within. They always go together. God is not a statue. He's not a static force within us. It's a loving relationship in faith. And hence God's Spirit can do all kinds of things and suggests all kinds of things, and He does. The third guideline is, when engaged with your thoughts, return ever so gently to the sacred word. Well, this is just to say, or acknowledge the fact that there are going to be various thoughts, feelings, sense perceptions, noise in the room, people coughing, memories, imaginations, visualizations, sort of dreaming. All of this psychological material, you might say, is going to be flowing down the stream of consciousness as you sit there. And we say that it's inevitable, integral, and normal. So this is a terribly important point to get through our heads if we've been trained in the doctrine of distractions, that distractions somehow are harmful or interfere with your prayer. Now, if you're doing discursive meditation when you're supposed to be thinking about something particular, then other thoughts are distractions, do interrupt your reflection and your prayer. But the centering prayer moves beyond that level of awareness. And it's designed to disregard the ordinary thoughts or activities of our psychological day-to-day awareness. So you're not on the level that you're usually on in discursive meditation. And hence, we just disregard this thought or these thoughts which are more like noise in the street or background music at the supermarket that you put up with but pay no attention to. But it's important not to resist these thoughts. In other words, it's important to have a joyful attitude towards the thoughts, a friendly attitude towards the most dreadful thoughts. Not that you linger over them or act them out, but it's important that we expect them, and they're normal, and they're integral, and so we receive them all with a smile, sort of inward smile, so to speak. A jolly attitude is recommended. Here they go again, that sort of thing. Ha, ha, ha. Reason for that is that any emotional frustration or annoyance or distress or grief is not appropriate, because that is another kind of thought. Because it's emotionally charged, it's more of a hindrance to entering into interior silence, which is the proximate goal of this prayer, than any number of casual thoughts that go by. So as soon as you're annoyed, you have a second thought, which is much more disturbing than the first one. And so there really is great wisdom in taking for granted there's going to be lots of thoughts and endless thoughts, and that with practice you can disregard most of them. Please sit comfortably on the chairs you're on, and close your eyes slowly, letting go of the environment, the immediate physical situation you're in, letting go also of your interior preoccupations or thoughts, or even what I just have been talking about. And maybe for 10 or 15 seconds, just do nothing, just as if you were sort of going to sleep or something. And then when you're sort of quiet, ever so gently introduce the sacred word that you've chosen. And repeat it a few times, but always with great calm. You don't repeat it fast, you don't try to pronounce it exactly. You just let it sort of sit ever so gently on the horizon of your consciousness as the expression of your intention to spend this time completely open to God and His loving, enfolding activity. And then when thoughts come down the stream of consciousness and they attract you in some degree, or maybe repel you and you experience some aversion, then once again, ever so gently, return to the sacred word, as if you were laying a feather on a piece of absorbing cotton. That's a good description. Or as if the sacred word was a drop of dew descending on a blade of grass. That gentleness. So that there's no effort to push thoughts away. There's simply an acceptance of whatever is going by and the insinuation of your basic intention of the will. Now, you may think that this doesn't accomplish anything, but intention is incredibly powerful. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. When you feel ready, please slowly open your eyes.